Hey folks, this is Philip with the Everyday Fighter podcast. I want to welcome you to this episode with Geoff Ronning. Now, Geoff is a friend in business. I've been a client of his for quite a long time, but one of the things that he is passionate about is boxing, and I never knew this about him actually until I started seeing some stuff on his Facebook feed as far as tournaments he started being a part of, etc. And it really got me intrigued about the kind of older boxing league in the United States. And it's called the Masters boxing say league or group program. But in any case, that was something that really got my attention, and I wanted to learn more about it. But Geoff here, he talks about his experience and how he got into boxing, some of the challenges that came into his life as a result of which got him, some of the health challenges that he had that actually got him looking into boxing, and then just going from there. But really interesting. I enjoyed having this conversation with him about it, and I hope you get quite a bit out of it as well. Particularly if you are an older person that is looking to get into boxing. What are the challenges that he went through in terms of, going to a gym and actually getting into sparring, and then even going from there? So I hope it's helpful to you. Before we get into the podcast, though, I wanted to get to our episode spotlight. Just as a reminder, these folks that I talk about on the spotlights, they don't know that I'm doing this. This is not a sponsored kind of a thing. It's just that I've run into them, in one way or another, and I think that, they might not get as much attention as I believe they really should in terms of some of the stuff that they're doing, maybe the products or the services that they're offering. And I just wanted to kind of give them a little bit more attention. And this spotlight goes to the Cave of Adullam Transformational Training Academy. Now, this is an organization by a gentleman, his name is Jason Wilson, and he is a martial artist, but he runs a program that specifically not only for boys to learn martial arts, but really getting them into a place where they understand what it's like to be a man. Now, it may be such that they do have fathers that are present in their lives. There may be situations where these boys don't. And he takes it upon himself in his program not only to teach them about martial arts and what that really helps out with emotionally and physically and mentally, but he makes a point to relate a lot of that to becoming a man and growing up for these boys, but also for the men in their lives. The way I was introduced to them was I saw this video on, I believe it was Facebook, that was shared, where it showed kind of a promotion, like one of the boys was going for a promotion in belt, and one of the processes with that was that he would get men that were involved in the boy's life to do push-ups, and the boy would be on each man's back, and they'd have to do as many as they could. So that really struck a chord with me, and he, ever since then I have seen other videos of his where they've kind of gone viral and kind of showing the things that he is teaching. So I really encourage you to check them out. You can find them on their website at thecatta.org, thecatta.org. Of course, it stands for the Cave of Adullam Transformational Training Academy. Of course, I'll leave a link in the show notes as well, but that is our spotlight for today. And with that, let's get into our interview with Geoff Ronning.
North of Seattle, Washington, in a little town called Mountlake Terrace. I I fell in love with the sport of boxing when I was a teenager, and never, ever in my life did I ever consider competing in boxing or taking it up, because I wasn't an athlete guy. Like, what I did is essentially, focused on my business and essentially ate and abused my body up until I was 40 years old. Okay. And at 40, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And, it was like it was kind of a mind blower. And the doctor said, well, you got to start doing exercise. And I couldn't, there wasn't an exercise. Like, I'm not the sort of guy, like, I can't do brainless kind of exercise. Like, I can't, like if you said, oh, Geoff, go jog 10 miles, that'd be very hard for me, because there's not that stimulation, like, so at 40 years old, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The doctor said, you got to do some exercise. And I thought, well, shit, the only sport I've ever loved, I don't follow baseball, I don't follow soccer, I don't follow football, I don't watch any other sport, is boxing. And I thought, well, geez, maybe I should go find a gym. So 40 years old, I started boxing and absolutely loved it. I was amazed at how difficult it was. I mean, I always respected all the boxers, but I had no idea, like, the absolute amount of time, even just to throw a straight punch, is like that takes a long time. I mean, you don't just go throw a straight punch in a week or two, right? Like, it takes forever. And that's why you see, we were talking about, other people in other aspects of combat sports like MMA. I mean, most of the punches, and I'm not putting them down in any way, but, most of the punches, are wide and looping. And so anyhow, at the first gym I went to, I've always been a guy that needed goals. Like, I need to work towards something. At the first gym I went to, I asked my trainer, well, are there competitions I can get into, And he said, no, not really, because you'd be matched up with guys that have been fighting for 40 years, You'd be matched up with guys that have had dozens or hundreds of fights. Now, obviously, he ended up being wrong. He didn't realize that there's a masters organization. After going through a couple other gyms, I've now been boxing for 13 years. And I'm with an absolute fantastic trainer, Sonny Gutierrez. And I've appreciated and thank all the trainers I've had in the past. But I do believe that where I'm at right now is like the ultimate gym for me and what I'm doing. When I started with Sonny Gutierrez, he had never had a master boxer. And so the first time we went to a master boxing competition was the first time that he was ever at a master boxing competition. And so he fell in love really with it too, because, he's used to training the kids. And he's also an ex-pro and has his own gym and other businesses. God, is that rambling enough for background, Philip?
No, man. No,
you're going to edit the hell out of this.
I'm absolutely not, man, because this is the stuff that's it's worth getting into. It's the thing where, I mean, just it's easy to put the highlight reel up, and we see this on social media a lot, right? But just like the steps in between the highlights are the things that I think that's where, at least in my case, and I feel that's the same for others as well, where they get a bit of the gold, and where it's like, you can talk about, oh, I started, I started because of this. I got into the ring for the first time. Now I got my belts. Those are kind of the highlights.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of challenging stuff in between there where people could really identify with that, and that's why I don't edit.
Yeah. Okay.
But ultimately, I mean,
well, I should have done less rambling. I'll do less rambling going forward.
It gives me a lot of places that I would love to go. All right. But let me bring it back a little bit though, because you talked about you were introduced to boxing initially as a teenager.
Yes.
Right. And you weren't doing any sports or anything like that prior to it at all?
I played a little soccer, but as a kid, like not as a kid, like preteen,
Yeah, like AYO kind of stuff or whatever.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
But I didn't play any sports in junior high. Didn't play any sports in high school.
Yeah, but so take me back a little bit to when it caught your eye.
I think when it caught my eye was, it would predominantly be Tyson and his initial rise, and so he would be, prior to him becoming a champion, when there was so much hype and so much excitement and, so I would say that's when.
So the promoters did their job in terms of at least getting your attention.
Oh, yeah. And, I always love the promoters, too. I actually love the promoters. I love the cut men. I love the trainers. I love the managers. I love the whole aspect of boxing, and I love and appreciate each one of those positions because they're all so important, In fact, in a lot of ways, I actually in a lot of ways, appreciate the promoters more than even a lot of the fighters because those promoters have been there for years, right? So not that they're all good guys. I'm not saying that. There's a lot of really obviously shady people, but yeah, I respect and appreciate it, including, on the official side too, I really appreciate all them and enjoy talking to them. Yeah.
But at the time, I mean, you were caught up in, and I'm sure it's same wave as everybody else, right? There's a spectacle, particularly around Tyson because of his style and because of under a minute knockout and all of that kind of stuff. So, but there's a point, but not everybody sticks around after kind of the spectacle.
Yeah. So I moved at about 20 years of age to Nevada. I moved down there to Nevada, and I was doing some work for Harrah's Casino. I was doing some entertainment, and so they would give me fight tickets. So then I got to actually go to the fights, and once I went to the fights, then I was really hooked. Because when you're in there, it's fun, obviously, to watch them on TV. But when you're in there and you're close and you can hear the sounds and, you can see the sweat and the blood flying, like it's even to this day, Saturday, I'll be going to the next live fight. When I walk in to that arena, I swear to you, it's like my testosterone goes through the roof. And I am so giddy. I'm so excited. It's like I'm a 13-year-old boy, going on my first date. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I just love it so much that, it's so thrilling. So, then when I got to go to those live fights in Reno, one of my favorite fights of all time was down there. And that was, Mark Breland versus Aaron Superman Davis. I mean, that fight, so good. It was so fun. But anyhow, so then I start to be able to afford to go to the fights. And I also got a bunch of free tickets through Harrah's whenever they had the fights at theirs. So then, of course, I started to be able to go. And during that time was the Greg Hagen days and the Mancini days and the Tommy Morrison days. And, who's the Indian fighter? Joe Hip. So I was able to see all those guys. And the other thing too that's real different from other sports, I guess, is that you're able to actually interact with these guys. You're able to talk to them. Obviously not on fight night necessarily, but prior at the weigh-in, or they're at the same gyms that everybody goes to, and they're all, for the most part, really really friendly and appreciative and approachable, and they love to talk. And so that was really thrilling too, to be able to see all those fights. And there was a ref named Mills Lane that refed in Nevada, who was very well known. And his catch line was, "Let's get it on!" And he was a judge in Reno. And I used to see him a couple times a year outside of fights, just in restaurants or walking down the street or whatever, because Reno, relatively, at that time, it was probably about 200,000 people. So it's a very small town. And Mills Lane was always cool as hell. Even when you saw him out at a restaurant or wherever, he was just super nice. He just couldn't be nice. "Hey boys, how you doing?" And, so it was just all this. Oh, it's just a terrific community. Again, that's not to say that it's not filled with shady characters and really terrible people. It is, but they all add, I think, to the overall environment and the fun of the fights. I also saw the first fight in Reno. I saw the first fight that Riddick Bowe ever had. And he went on to become my favorite fighter. And to me, I know that, he did not have a long career. It was very brief, but to me, there was no one in my lifetime that was as much fun to watch, that was as exciting of a boxer that had those sorts of skills. I really loved him. And of course, I was then able to talk my wife into actually naming our son Riddick. So our son is Riddick Ronning, named after Riddick Bowe. So
if there was any doubt in terms of how much of an enthusiast, not only for boxing, but also for Riddick Bowe you are, then there it is right there.
Yeah. Now here's something weird. I don't know. This is, so we were at Las Vegas. I think the gym is called Boxing City. We're in Las Vegas maybe a month ago. And I'm currently living in Phoenix, Arizona. And so I went with Sonny, my trainer. We took some pros up there to spar. And I noticed that the owner's son was named Bowe. It was spelled Bowe. And I was like, how'd you come up with that name? And the owner of the gym, who's also an ex-pro boxer, said, I named him after Riddick Bowe. And I was like, get the hell out of here. So
I'm not the only one.
Exactly. So I have the Riddick, he has the Bowe. So at some point in time, we'll take Riddick up there. We'll all meet. But
that's
anyhow.
That's
yeah.
great.
So there's other people that are as nuts as I am.
Well, let's talk about that. Because I mean, introduced to it, obviously, just on television. But then you were in a unique situation where now you're able to immerse yourself in terms of being a spectator through all of this, because of you were working in Reno, and now you had access to these fights and to these people, just in terms of just because of sheer proximity, quite frankly, and the circumstances of being there. Was it just as a spectator outside that you wanted to be? Was there anything inside of you at that point of your life where you said, I want to try my hand?
Absolutely not. Couldn't even imagine it. Could not even imagine it. I just loved it from being a spectator. Yeah, I literally never even thought of boxing until I was an idiot. I mean, obviously I could have made lifestyle changes and I probably wouldn't have gotten type 2 diabetes at that young of age. I probably would have gotten it anyhow because it's on both sides of my family. But I was also, the behaviors that I was adapting, I could have changed those. And but no, never thought about getting in the ring.
So it's now fast forward to the point where you get the diagnosis.
Yes.
And it's different when you hear it on commercials or people that that tell you their story and stuff. But when it's your story, when you're hearing the words from this guy or woman in a white coat says, you need to do this. You need to change something about your life.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It was weird. It was really strange because I'm used to, in other areas of my life where I have focused, like business, I'm used to basically being very successful in overcoming any challenges. So when I was getting the warnings about diabetes, I was in my head, I was like, bull, that's not going to happen to me, I mean, it was just surprising really, because I'm used to succeeding in stuff. I'm not used to having something, idiotic like type 2 diabetes. I mean, that shouldn't have happened.
Was that something though that like it was kind of like a gradual, like a kind of a theme that you're hearing leading up to the point where, okay, now you've got it? Or was it just like, okay, there was, you felt like there was something was off or whatever it came as like, oh my gosh, this out of the blue?
No, I was getting warnings. I just disregarded them. I just disregarded them. I just thought, because a lot of people give you a lot of warnings about a lot of stuff. You just kind of think, that's what they're supposed to say,
Right.
It's if it happens, it'll happen when I'm 70 maybe, but no. They were serious and I didn't listen.
Oh, you're not kidding?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you then to like kind of, did you start looking for gyms that very day, or was there a bit of like still kind of disbelief, still kind of,
There was disbelief, I was like talking to my wife and I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going to get on a treadmill, which ironically I do now. Well, I haven't since I recovered from my foot, yeah. but I would run on the treadmill, because again, I had that specific goal. Like I really need to have goals for things, and that's really the benefit of all these tournaments for me. The tournaments are like something to work towards, right? Like something to, okay, I'm working towards this and I'm going to go measure my skills against someone else, and see if I've done the work that I was supposed to do. So I would say it took about a week. And then my wife was, she's like, yeah, you should try it. You love it. You watch it all the damn time, so at that point in time, I was 325 pounds and I'm 6'4.5". Some people say 6'5", some people say 6'4". Fast forward all these years and stuff. And, I just recently came off a foot surgery and that's a whole long story that you probably don't want to hear, but, so I have gained back some weight, but I'm probably sitting at about 260 now. And as far as my diabetes numbers, I'm not even like the numbers are non-diabetic. So I'm taking medicine, but they've cut them down. And, when you talk about the blood sugar numbers and whatnot, I'm not even close to a diabetic number. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So it's like they say, you can never get rid of diabetes. You're going to have it all your life. But, some people say you can get rid of it. But anyhow, regardless of whatever people believe, my blood sugar numbers are not diabetic. They're below diabetic levels. So way below. So, with the weight loss and the exercise, and which is all boxing, it's been good. It's been terrific.
But you knew like that was something that, particularly, with your experience in business as well, where you're like, okay, you set your goal, whatever, let's work towards this goal. That was something that was important for you to have identified once you realize, okay, well, let me, if I have to do something long term, I want it to be something that I enjoy.
I want it to be something I enjoy, and more importantly, I love to learn. So that's why I can't just get on, I can't just go jog, I love to learn. And with boxing, I'm learning every single day. I mean, as you know, I was a few minutes late to this because I just came from the gym. But, so I was at the gym, and every single day, every single time I'm there, I'm learning. Like there's so much to boxing. I mean, it looks like people.
You're into this 13 years, though.
Yeah, and I still don't know anything. It's like, so it's a continual learning process. So
you got to be okay with that. I guess that's the thing. Because like some people will hear that, like 13 years, he still feels like he's no good at it. Like he still has stuff to learn. And whereas like, so if they, they might take that as like, well, gosh, I'm not even gonna try it. But then there are others that hear that and be like, wow, that means that there's no ending to it. Even after 13 years or whatever, there's always room for growth, right?
Yeah, well, that's the way I am just naturally. I mean, obviously, I say I don't know anything, but I've won multiple belts.
Well, it speaks to your humility, man.
I've won, I've won, national tournaments. I've won international tournaments, and so and next month I'm competing, and I'll win that one. So, but having said that, we'll come home and there'll be tons to work on because I screwed something up. And, because here's the thing with boxing, the coolest part is that, well, first off, a lot of my friends think it's all about violence, but it's not about violence in any way. It's all about strategy, because you have a person in front of you and you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know how they're going to act. You don't know how they're going to react. So it's like this, it's just kind of like it's just like the ultimate game to me, because it's so simple. Basically, it's one guy or girl against one guy or girl. There's nothing else. There's no team. There's no ball. There's nothing, right? It's just, hey, are my skills better than your skills? That's all there is, So it's just very clean in my head, and I like things that are very simple. And while it's simple, it's absolutely not easy, and it's very complex.
Well, I mean, even from my background in terms of like martial arts, one of the tendencies that I see is people, they set their goal. Okay, I want to be a black belt, and I'll tell you, 7 out of 10 times, if that was their goal, they get the black belt, then we don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But it doesn't seem to be. But the people that continue on after that are the ones that are like you're saying, that there's always something else that they're looking to improve. And
yeah. I mean, I'm that way in all areas of my life. I mean, I want to improve my relationship with my wife. I want to improve it with my son. I mean, they're awesome. Don't get me wrong. They're awesome relationships. But I just always want to be improving things. So, like, every time I go in the gym, I'm working on stuff. Whenever, like that not Windy City, but Las Vegas City Boxing Gym, we were sparring against a guy named David Benavidez. Now, David Benavidez is from Phoenix. So, I've watched him kind of grow to where he is now, which is a champion. But just watching him spar was like mind-blowing, So, I could come away and there's so much to learn, right? From that, when and the big takeaway for me with watching him spar was, how absolutely, like, I think I'm relaxed, but that guy was absolutely relaxed. But he was throwing such a variety of punches from so many different angles. It was crazy, It's like, here I am just happy if I can throw a couple different punches during them, and this guy had him coming. So anyhow, all that to say that, you could just say, hey, I'm going to work for 6 months and jump in the ring, and you might do very well, and you might win, and you could never compete again. But, if you want to, you can learn every single day for certainly the rest of your life. And the coolest thing about it is there's these people in boxing that are there to help you. Like, they will help you. Like, they will just do it because someone else did it for them, and so it's all about finding the right gym and finding the right people and finding people that will support you, which I think is growing in the world of master boxing.
I want to ask about this for a bit, but you talk about your mindset for like constantly improving, and these days they call it kind of having that growth mindset, right? Was that something that just came naturally to you? Like you felt like you always had that, or was that something you had to develop?
It came natural. I think when I was a kid, I wasn't I wasn't playing baseball. I wasn't doing that crap. I was reading the Think and Grow Rich books and reading all the mindset books and the meditation books and all that stuff. So.
Now, how did you find your way to those? Was that something that came from your parents, or you just found it somehow?
No, it did not come from my parents. I just had a natural interest in really wanting to improve myself, wanting to improve my life. My parents are great people. They did a wonderful job raising us. But my life today is completely different than it was when I grew up, from the standpoint of financial and things like that. Mm-hmm. Not to put them down in any way. They did a wonderful job. It's just, I grew up in a place that obviously it was nice to me, but when I go back, I'm just like, holy mackerel, So to be able to do the things I can do now is awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
You were actively seeking that on your own. None of that was pushed on you. It's kind of you just kind of had a natural inclination or you're gravitating to that already.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, get me the heck out of here and, show me let me, grab what I can grab and do what I can do and bust my ass and make something happen.
Yeah. Definitely curiosity there, healthy dose of a bit of curiosity. I think in all of that probably helped you a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Even like in terms of, continuing with, and we're talking about boxing, where there's always somebody else, right, that you can get in the ring with.
There's always tons of people you can learn from, today, like for instance, today, there was a guy that's brand new and he's very nervous. He's 34 years old, so he's not a master boxer. Very, very nervous, and a lot of people are. And in fact, he didn't even want to we just went maybe 3 rounds or something where, we just moved. Like we threw punches, but we didn't hit each other. Mm-hmm. We didn't even have on protective gear. And so, I was there to help him. Sonny was there to help me. There's other people there, a guy named Zach, who's a fantastic boxer who helps me a lot and who will spar with me and, beat me up. No, he won't beat me up, but he's a very good boxer. I mean, he's really terrific. He's in his 20s, so he's a lot faster than me.
Definitely gives you challenges, yeah?
Yeah. So, there's no shortage of people that are there to kind of pay back, right? Because it's a weird it's an interesting sport to me because, it's not like, most of the people in boxing come from poverty. And so those trainers, are certainly willing to give back to everybody because someone helped them. Yeah.
I want to take it back for you. Like, you made the decision. Okay, I'm going to go with boxing to help out with my diabetes. What was that like for you to actually step into a gym, not as a spectator, but as an actual participant?
It was crazy. When I first started, I was doing half hour, and I couldn't. I mean, I was in such terrible shape. It's like, I couldn't do anything. I was just. So it was terrible, not in the sense that it didn't help me, but it was such an eye opener and so hard. It was absolutely so hard. I could not believe it.
Mainly because of your fitness level at the time?
Yes, because of my fitness level.
Yeah. But in terms of even just like going in, was it intimidating for you at all to kind of go somewhere and ask for this type of help?
I went to basically a white collar, what they say is more of a white collar gym. So it wasn't, but had I gone into, a different type of gym, it would have scared the hell out of me. Because, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, there is a lot of, there's a lot of different gyms. There's a lot of different people. Boxing attracts a lot of weirdos, which is one of the cool things about it. You meet a lot of weird, freaky people, but you also meet a lot of tremendously nice people. And so choosing the right gym is important,
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And, a lot of gyms don't know what to do with you. Like, you're like their grandpa's age. And so, let's just say, for instance, I remember I went to one gym, and the guy's like, okay, we'll start off, do 5 minutes of jump rope. And I'm just looking at him, and I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, okay, you don't know, like, I'm brand new. Like, you don't know, like, I mean, at that point in time, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be able to physically jump the rope for 5 minutes. I can do that, but I'm going to be dead. I'm not going to be. So, I did that. And then he had me do some, what else did he have me do? Had me do some movements under a rope, and the rope was at the size of, like, my belly button. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is for like 8-year-olds. This is not, Well, so, I didn't go back to him. In terms
of like them not knowing what to do with you. When you say you, was it that it was you at that age of a fighter?
Yes, me at this age of a fighter. Okay. Yes, and me at that fitness level. They just, because some people will just, they're used to dealing with kids. I mean, that's the predominant. Obviously, that's the predominant number of people in a boxing gym. So I don't want to make any mistakes. I could jump rope now, like, for 6 hours if anybody wants to check. But at that point in time, him looking at me, he should have gone, oh, shit, I should ask this guy to jump rope for maybe 90 seconds and we'll do 3 sets. That would have been the smart thing, but he just didn't know. So,
but it's just, that just speaks to his experience level with working with an older fighter in your position.
Yeah, he had none.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that, speaking to like what you've been saying a few times here, is like finding a gym that is right for you.
Yeah.
So like you made your way to different gyms. Were you doing those concurrently that or was it that, okay, you trained enough with one, say like you started off with that white collar gym and you just said, this isn't for me, let me quit, let me find something else? Or were you just kind of like jumping around from gym to gym for a bit?
I really wasn't jumping around. What I was doing, I was at that first gym for probably 2 years. Then I went to the next gym with a guy named Pete Chavez, who was fantastic.
And were you doing group classes through all this, or was it always one-on-one, or
mostly one-on-one?
Okay.
And I mean, I go, to some group classes, but mostly one-on-one. And I realize some people can't do that, and so the group, even if the group classes, you'll meet people and they'll be able to help you. And so after that, I went to Pete Chavez. I was probably there for 3 years. Then I went to Robert Biggs, and I was there the same, about 2-3 years. And then I went to then I've been with Sonny since for about 3 years. So yeah.
And what made it such that you decided to? Because I think that's one of the things. Like, people find their way to this interview. It's like, I mean, we can say find the right gym, find the right people, and talk about weirdos being out there, that type of thing as well. Of course, granted that everyone's got their own personalities that they're bringing to find what's right. But what made something right for you?
What made it right for me is that the emphasis was on improving my health, and the people had my best interest and had the ability to teach me and help me improve. So each of those guys I just mentioned, they did that for me, and so I mean, they could call me today and I'd do whatever they wanted me to help them. So I think if you're looking for a gym, the first thing I would do is ask other master fighters. If there's nobody that or that's in your area, then I'd just go visit the gym. I'd go visit the gym. I'd meet the people. If you walk in and you're in terrible shape and very overweight, they say, okay, jump rope for 5 minutes. Okay, that's the wrong gym.
That's a good indicator.
That's if they're having you do some movement and the rope is at your belly, that's the wrong gym. If you walk in and let's say you're in the gym and you're moving, this is why I've been brought up. So it's not the right way, but it's probably not, there's probably no right way. But I will tell you this, the way that I've been brought up, the way that we spar is always light. It's always light. So like that story I told you about that kid today, where we threw punches. I'm just trying to get him comfortable. I'm just trying to get him comfortable so when we get in the ring and he gets the headgear on and he's less uncomfortable than he would be if we just jumped in there. But even when we're in the ring, and if you're finding a gym, if you get in the ring and someone knocks the hell out of you, I might give them one warning. Just say, hey, no, tool it down, man. Yeah. Or I might not even give them that. I might just say, you know what? No more. That's it. Because sparring is not about trying to take the other guy's head off. You're not trying to knock out your sparring partner. You're trying to work on stuff, And so if someone's trying to hurt you, that's not sparring that's going to be valuable for you. That's my opinion. That's the way I've been brought up. Yeah. Just like you said, you were sparring somebody, they didn't even throw punches. They just worked on their defense. So here you are in there getting work in. Here they are in there getting work in. Everybody's happy. Everyone leaves the ring having improved themselves, right? Yeah. And that's really the way sparring should be, in my opinion, and the way I've been taught. So, yeah.
Geoff, I want to be respectful of your time. We're at the top of the hour now. Do you have like another 15 minutes or so, or you have to jump off?
No, I got another 20 minutes actually.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to take me back to when you first jumped in to actually spar with somebody. What was that like for you? Because I think, that could be kind of a jarring thing, particularly if you don't have people like you're talking about to work with that emphasize the lightness, emphasize kind of, the partnership aspect of it, right? You're both trying to learn. It's kind of a two-way street. I don't know if that was the case for you, but I'd like to kind of jump back to like your first time in the ring with somebody.
When I first started sparring, it was, every gym kind of has different rules for sparring. And so the very first time they wouldn't even allow us to hit the head, so that's the very first time.
What was that like for you, not being able to do that? What were you thinking when they said you can't hit the head?
I thought, well, that's dumb. That's stupid. but so that was the very first gym I was at.
Okay.
And, that was probably perfect for me at that time.
Okay.
Fair
enough.
And then at the second gym I was training at, I would spar a little bit. And at my most recent gym where we do typically a lot of sparring, the first guy I sparred over there was a guy named Courtney Barnett, and he's a pro boxer, and he was a champ maybe in the 90s. Terrific guy. And so he didn't throw it to my head. And he was really good for me. I mean, he was terrific. I mean, he threw punches to my chest, which hurt for about 2 months, but he wasn't trying to hurt me. There's a difference between trying to hurt somebody and giving them temporary pain. Right. And so that was really fun. So I get a thrill out of getting in the ring with people that I've been fans of, and also working with trainers, not in the real true training sense, but more in like for a day or two, like so it's fun to get in the ring and move around with people. And
is there any, I mean, like, even like, I don't know if there's a difference between the time you started to even now, but was there like a nervousness and apprehension in there initially, and then
absolutely
did it ever go away, or what's that a process like for you?
Sure, yeah. There's apprehension, there's nervousness, just plain scared as hell. When I first started, I don't get that now except at tournaments. But I'm like, at our gym now, I'm like the guy that goes in with the first timers. And because the first timers usually come in and they have all those emotions and they're throwing hard as hell because they don't know, because they're worried you're going to hurt them. Right.
Yeah.
So now I'm like the old guy that kind of goes in there because I can be very controlled. I'm not going to, I'll just absorb the punishment and let them work through their emotions. And for some people, it can take. So some people never get over those, they're that way every time they get in the ring. But usually, after they get in the ring 3 or 4 times, they calm down significantly and they realize, okay, you're not going to hurt me. And when they calm down, that's when they'll start to learn, because now they're not just throwing for the fences, Now's when they can start to use more technique. They can move better. They can, maintain distance, and that's when they start to learn boxing. So I guess I do still get a little bit of that adrenaline still when I go in there with new guys, because you just don't know what you're going to get. But I don't really get it until I get to the tournaments, and then the tournaments are super thrilling.
But when you started, like initially, it was the biggest thing was not like the fear of getting hurt. Is that accurate, or I mean?
Yeah, I'd say the fear of getting hurt and the fear of of the unknown. Like, what's this person going to do to me? Like, you get into a ring and okay, if this guy wants to, he could break my nose and I couldn't do nothing about it.
Okay.
If this guy wants to, he could break my ribs and I couldn't do anything about it. If he wants to, he can knock me out, And so you have to work through those emotions and get to where you're like, okay, I guess he's not going to do that,
Like you kind of, like, oh, now it's kind of like resetting the expectations now.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he's not, I know he could do that. Everybody knows he's way better. That's a given. So, but now, okay, I feel comfortable. He's not going to do that. He's going to let me work. He's going to be working. So
what about the process of you actually doing it on somebody else though? I mean, I think that's for me, like, even in my martial arts world, one of the biggest challenges I see with beginners is definitely what you're saying in terms of, like, them taking punishment, getting hit, being afraid of getting hurt. But another one that's fairly big is hitting somebody else. Did you have any apprehensions about that at all?
I didn't. And, it's, well, I can tell you a story of one time I did, but in general, I didn't. And what's interesting is I have a friend who also boxes, but he's a Marine. He works overseas in security, in as a private contractor. I mean, he's a badass. Okay. And ironically enough, he said, most people find it harder to hit a man or woman hit a woman than they do to shoot someone, because you can shoot somebody from 1,000 yards. But, when you're hitting someone, you're looking them straight in the eye, like you're right there. I don't have any hesitation about that because I'm not trying to really hurt them. Although in the tournament,
even at the beginning, like that, you didn't really have that fear of that at all.
No, because to me, again, it's just all strategy and it's all technique is the way it is in my head. Right. I mean, I know I am trying to hit him to hurt him. Yeah. That's absolutely true. But in my head, I don't think of it that way, really. I just think in terms of, okay, so what can I do to score points here?
Good point. Yeah. I want to talk about a bit of what you're doing now. I mean, you've got such a passion for boxing, not only for yourself, but also kind of spreading it a bit. And you talk about the Masters League in particular. Talk to me about that in terms of like how you were introduced to it, how you got more involved in kind of spreading the word and trying to get more involvement around that.
Sure. So, I that love of boxing just kind of, it rolled over into masters boxing when I found out, hey, they have competitions of old guys,
And this is like 35 years old and older.
35 and over. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so me and my trainer, we went to our first competition and that's one time I was hesitant to hit someone because they were a lot shorter than me, and they would come in with their head down, and so I didn't want to hit them because they had the back of their head, and so I lost that fight. But what I learned is, no, you knock the hell out of them in the back of the head, then you take the warning from the ref, and then the ref will start to warn them not to put their head down. And ironically enough, in the day 2 of that tournament, the guy came in, did the same thing with his head down, and the guy whacked the hell out of him and actually knocked him out right there. So it was a good lesson for me to learn. So we went to these tournaments, and me and Sonny, we're like, shit, these are fun tournaments, so I'm not putting any of them down, but we could do a better one. So we started Sonny's International Master Boxing Tournament. In addition to that, I've sported a couple different boxing clubs by giving them equipment, donations. I've also been a cut man in pro fights. And years ago, I'm talking like over a decade ago, the trainer at the time was like, you should be a promoter because you love it so much, but ultimately I decided I didn't want to be a promoter because I do love it too much. I didn't want to get into the business end because the business end of boxing is so, I didn't want to spoil my love of the sport. So, I get a lot of, I get a thrill out of being completely immersed in it. I'm also an official with the USA Boxing in the state of Arizona. So that's cool. Last Saturday I was, doing pretty typical thing, which is, we had 20 or 22 bouts and, I get to see a lot of up and coming kids, and get to have fun there. So yeah, I'm involved with USA Boxing, involved with the Masters. We have our own tournament, and also try and donate as much as I can to the kids, and boxing programs. You mentioned the Toto Santos Boxing Club. This is, I was on vacation and I looked out my window and there was these kids out there training, and they were training in this open area, and they were bringing out equipment, old, crappy equipment that they would hang out there in this open area. And, so I wandered over there and was talking to them and met them. And they are lucky enough to have a trainer, Ramiro from La Paz, Mexico, who drives to Toto Santos a couple times a week, teaches these kids. He was a Pan Am World Game champion and I think an Olympian competitor as well as a pro. So, I would like to definitely get down there again, probably in January, and take them a bunch of equipment because they don't have much down there. I mean, they don't,
And this is Mexico?
Yeah, this is Mexico.
Okay.
And so now, it's really mind-blowing to see them on Facebook and stuff, because I'll see them and they'll be posting pictures of their workouts, right? And I'll be like, yeah, I gave them all those boxing gloves and I gave them that, So it's nice to be able to do that. I definitely need to do that a lot more. I'd love to support. I have it written down. I'm not moving as much as I should be on that. But yeah, my goal would be to support 30 clubs across the country and in other areas, because it just gives. Again, most people come from poverty, right? And so they don't have much. Most of them don't have two-parent homes. Most of them come from, there's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of gangs. They don't have any role models. They don't have any discipline in their life. I was at Pete Chavez's gym once, and this kid came in, and he was cleaning up for Pete. And when he left, I said, yeah, that kid's nice. He was like 14. So that kid seems nice. Seems very cool. He goes, yeah. He's got to go off to prison in a couple weeks. I was like, really? What for? And he said, murder. I was like, shit. There was 3 guys. He didn't pull the trigger, but one of his buddies did. So that guy's and there's a lot of that, right? So if those trainers and if those boxing gyms can get those kids in, give them discipline, give them something to work towards, and from the standpoint of lower income, those kids are probably not going to be out on the golf course. They're not going to go play tennis. They're not going to go, boxing. Okay, boxing they can do because that's kind of more masculine, right? It's like, it's not, they're not going to join the Cub Scouts. They're not from that. They're not, they're just from a different place. And so I would love to support that many clubs and the people that are involved in that, like Ramiro, I just mentioned. I mean, they're given all their time and a lot of money to keep those clubs going. So it's nice to be in a position financially where we can help them. especially in a place like Mexico, because, they really don't even get things shipped there because it'll get stolen. It won't make it to them. Like I can't, like if I wanted to send them stuff today, I can't. I mean, I could technically, but they say, don't, we'll never get it. It'll get stolen. You really need to hand carry that stuff.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Geoff, this was awesome, man. Thanks so much. I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours about this. That's great.
Yeah.
But, listen, I think the people that find their way to this, I think they're just going to get a lot from what you shared. Probably they might want to connect with you as well, whether it's to help with your goal of helping other clubs or just in general, even in terms of masters. What's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Probably on Facebook, or if they go to stealthseminar.com, they could reach me there. That's my predominant business at this time.
Awesome. We'll do that. Geoff, thanks again, man. It was awesome.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Philip.
Folks, I hope you appreciated that interview with Geoff. Again, I'd only known him really in a business kind of setting prior to this, so I was really excited to jump on to have this conversation with him about a subject that both he and I are passionate about, and hopefully gave you some insights as to what you can use boxing for, especially if you're interested in it and really need to find a way to maybe if you want to get health under your control, this might be an option for you. And if that's the case, what are the things that you might have to consider as you make your way to finding a gym that is right for you? So that's it for today's episode. We'll talk to you next time. Again, this is Philip with the Everyday Fighter Podcast.